Good morning, 7STE. Today, we are going to start discussing third quarter topics, and we are going to begin with Quarter 3, Module 1, Air Pollutants and Water Pollutants. Objectives: describe the different pollutants in the environment. So at the end of this module, you are expected to: number 1, enumerate and describe the different examples of air pollutants and water pollutants. 2, cite the sources and harmful effects of each pollutant to human health and environment. 3, suggest ways in reducing the accumulation of pollutants in the environment. What I know. Choose the letter of the best answer. Write the letter of your choice on your answer sheet. See pages 1 to 3 of Quarter 3, Module 1. What's in? So write the word fact if the statement is correct and bluff if the statement is incorrect. Number 1. Conservation has something to do with minimizing and sustaining the use of natural resources by means of properly managing their utilization. 2. Water pollution is caused by the smokes emitted by factories, vehicles, and establishments. 3. The greater the number of people, the smaller the bulk of domestic waste that may reach bodies of water. 4. Air pollution is any contamination of bodies of water like bays, rivers, streams, lakes, underground water, seas, and oceans that are harmful to living organisms. 5. The conservation of renewable resources like trees involves ensuring that they will not be consumed faster than they can be replaced. And 6. The conservation of non-renewable resources like fossil fuels involves ensuring that sufficient quantities will be maintained for future generations to utilize. So let us answer the following. So let us answer number 1. So number 1 is a fact. So conservation has something to do with minimizing and sustaining the use of natural resources. 2 is a bluff. So the words that made it incorrect is the word water pollution. So this should be air pollution. Number 3 is also a bluff. So the greater the number of people, the larger the bulk of domestic waste that may reach bodies of water. Number 4 is also a bluff. So the words that made it incorrect is the word air pollution. So this should be water pollution. Number 5 is correct. It's a fact. So conservation of renewable resources involves ensuring that they will not be consumed faster than they can be replaced. And number 6 is also a fact. The conservation of non-renewable resources involves ensuring sufficient quantities will be maintained for future generations to utilize. What's new? So study and analyze the pictures given below. Answer agree if it shows a clean and healthy environment, and disagree if it does not, and then answer the questions that follow. So for the first picture, we have a man throwing garbage in the sea. So agree or disagree. 2, we have windmills uh, placed near the sea. Next, we have number 3, a vehicle emitting dark smoke into the air. Number 4, we have 2 boys riding on a bike. Number 5, we have wastewater being thrown into a river. And number 6, we have a lake, and then there's a man fishing in the middle of the lake. So write your answer. Next, for the guide question, number 1, how did you determine whether the picture showed a clean and healthy environment or not? Number 2, for the items you answered disagree, what made it dirty or contaminated environment? And number 3, what are the examples of air pollutants and water pollutants? What is it? Air pollutants and water pollutants. Lesson 1, air pollutants. The atmosphere affects us in a number of ways, in the same manner that we also affect the environment in our day-to-day activities. Production and emission of pollutants are some examples. In the long run, humans directly suffer the consequences of our actions. Other than gaseous components in the air, there are also solid particles such as dust, soot, pollen grains, and foreign matters present in the atmosphere. Large amounts of these materials will eventually get into the air and harm the living things on Earth. The air is polluted when there are presence of unwanted substances or materials which are called pollutants. Air pollutants are substances whose concentrations in air are high enough to be considered hazardous to human health. They may be solids, liquids, or gases which are dissolved in air or are dispersed in minute forms. They come from natural or man-made sources. Pollutants that come from the smokestacks of factories, power plants, or any isolated source of pollutants are said to originate from point sources. Moving vehicles are considered non-point or line sources. If the streets are close together or the sources of pollutants are close together in an area, then the area is considered a pollutant source and is called an area source. Pollutants are classified as primary and secondary. Primary air pollutants are substances that are released directly into the air by a point and non-point sources or identifiable sources. For instance, carbon monoxide, or CO, is directly introduced into the air by smokestacks of factories or tailpipes of vehicles. Sulfur dioxide, or SO2, is also a primary pollutant produced from volcanic emissions. Other examples of primary pollutants include oxides of nitrogen, such as nitrous oxide N2O and nitrogen dioxide NO2, vapor of hydrocarbons and other organic compounds, particulate matter such as smoke and dust. We have oxides of lead, cadmium, copper, and iron. Next, toxic substances like chlorine gas, hydrogen sulfide gas. And number 6, foul odors produced from the decay of garbage and other things. Secondary air pollutants are the products of the chemical reactions among the primary pollutants and other substances powered by solar radiation. They may be more harmful than primary pollutants. So here we have pictures of primary pollutants coming from vehicles, factories, from volcanic eruption. When these primary pollutants undergo chemical reaction, powered by solar radiation, they turn into secondary pollutants. And it is said that secondary pollutants are more harmful than primary pollutants. For example, sulfuric acid, or H2SO4, which is a very corrosive acid, forms from chemical reactions involving sulfur dioxide. It makes rainwater more acidic, hence we have the so-called acid rain. Another example of a secondary pollutant is ozone, or O3. So it may be formed from the breakdown of nitrogen dioxide by sunlight. Although a very important gas in the stratosphere, O3 or ozone in the troposphere is a pollutant. In our second quarter topics in ENVI, we discussed about ozone. And ozone is very important in the stratosphere because they protect us from the ultraviolet of the sun. So if the ozone is in the stratosphere, it's protective. But when it's in the troposphere, it's very dangerous because it's a pollutant in the troposphere. Next, the equations below show how the secondary pollutants are produced from the primary pollutants and other substances. So first one, we have nitrous oxide plus VOCs equals photochemical smog. Nitrous oxide plus unburned hydrocarbons equals ozone. Next, sulfur dioxide plus water equals sulfuric acid. or acid rain. Nitrous oxide plus water equals nitric acid. So the illustration below shows the emission of primary air pollutants and secondary air pollutants. So as I have said in the earlier slide, your primary pollutants may come from vehicles, from burning of solid waste, from factories, and from volcanic activities. So when all of these primary pollutants are introduced into the air, they might undergo a chemical reaction and your secondary pollutants are produced. So the table below shows the different examples of outdoor air pollutants, its description, sources, and harmful effects to human and environment. So let's start with the first one. So for number one, we have total suspended particulates or TSP or particulate matter. So the source of TSP are tiny bits of solid matter of median diameter equal to 25 to 50 microns suspended in the air for a long time. Stationary and mobile sources, area source, dust from roads, plow and croplands before planting and burning of farm waste. So what is the harmful effect of TSP? Allergic reactions and respiratory problems such as penetrating the lungs of people and minimizing chances of inhalation of organism. So that's TSP. Next we have carbon monoxide or CO. It's a colorless and odorless gas from the exhaust of motor vehicles where combustion of the fossil fuel is incomplete. So motor vehicles and some industrial processes are your sources of carbon monoxide. Harmful effect, it can destroy ozone formation, it can combine with blood, it can interfere with oxygen transport in the body. So we call this condition as carbon monoxide poisoning. Next, nitrogen dioxide or NO2 and photochemical smog. So it is a light brown gas at low concentration but imparts a darker shade to urban haze. Photochemical smog is formed from chemical reactions which are triggered by sunlight. Smog is coined from the words smoke and fog. The main component of photochemical smog is ozone, which is a very important gas in the stratosphere but a pollutant in the troposphere. So motor vehicles, especially those run by diesel engines and by industry, are your sources of nitrogen dioxide and photochemical smog. Harmful effect, acid precipitation or acid rain, respiratory problems in humans. It can also react with VOCs to form photochemical smog. Next, sulfur dioxide or SO2. So it's a colorless gas, it's odorless also at low concentrations but pungent at very high concentrations. Sources natin, power plants, industries including petroleum refineries, smelters, paper mills, and chemical plants. A much smaller percentage is generated by motor vehicles. So harmful effect, it can cause acid precipitation or acid rain, eye, mouth, and throat problems in humans. Next, we have ozone or O3 and other related oxidants. So ozone is a colorless gas, very reactive form of oxygen. Ozone results from chemical reactions between oxygen and a mixture of hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides in the presence of sunlight. So the sources of hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides which act as substrates for the formation of ozone are motor vehicles, factories, landfills, gas stations. Harmful effect, it harms vegetation, it's a health hazard in man when at ground level, and it accelerates environmental temperature. So ozone in the troposphere can cause an increase in atmospheric temperature. So it is a source of global warming. Next, airborne pathogens or disease-causing agents. So, source, disease-causing agents from anyone or anything that are infected by viruses or bacteria. Harmful effect, infectious disease such as common cold, influenza, chickenpox, measles, tuberculosis, and severe acute respiratory syndrome or SARS. Next, indoor air pollutants pertain to chemical, biological, and physical contamination of indoor air such as those within a home, building, or an institution or commercial facility. We usually think of air pollution as being outdoors, but the air in your house or office could also be polluted. So these are sources of indoor pollutants. So in the bathroom, we have mold, mildew, odors, and other microbial pathogens. In your air conditioning units, we have VOCs and odors that circulates without ventilating rooms. In the living room, your sources of indoor pollutants are animal hair, dust, and dander, tobacco smoke, diesel particles, VOCs from paint, varnishes, upholstery, furniture, and carpet. So in your bedroom, VOCs from perfumes, hairspray, nail polish, upholstery, furniture, carpet, dust mites in bedsheets. In your laundry room, VOCs from cleaning products, mold, mildew, odors, and other microbial pathogens. In the kitchen, cooking devices and fuel oil can be sources of indoor pollutants. So remember, there is a greater danger in inhaling more pollutants indoors. In an enclosed area, pollutants stay in the air longer since dispersal by wind is less likely to occur. If the source of pollution is not removed but regularly introduced to the place, indoor air pollution becomes worse than outdoor air pollution. So the table below presents the different examples of indoor air pollutants, its description, sources, and harmful effects to human environment. So first one we have dust mite. So here's a picture of a dust mite. It's a tiny insect which feeds on skin shedding. So harmful effect, it can trigger allergic reactions such as allergic rhinitis. So you can usually find dust mite in your beds. Next, environmental tobacco smoke or ETS. So side stream and mainstream smoke from burning tobacco and cigarette. Harmful effect, it increases lung cancer, respiratory diseases, and cardiovascular diseases. Next, we have VOCs or volatile organic compounds. So hydrocarbons and organic compounds used as solvents, fuel, and insecticides. They evaporate fast and can be inhaled easily. Examples are acetone, alcohol, methane, propane. So the methane comes from sewage, propane comes from the liquefied petroleum gas or your LPG. So harmful effect of VOCs, it can cause headache, breathing problems, respiratory diseases. It can also be carcinogenic or cancer causing. Fire hazard, eye and respiratory irritation, prolonged exposure can cause leukemia and cancer. So VOCs are very dangerous. Next, we also have combustion products. So description, process of burning fossil fuels to produce electricity in power plants and to run vehicles. So soot, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. Harmful effect, soot could cause lung problems because it absorbs on its surface more hazardous particulates. Inhaling too much carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide could lead to asphyxiation because of the greater affinity of hem with those chemicals than with oxygen. Next, we have chlorinated chemicals. So this include common household chemicals like sodium hypochlorite, a bleaching agent with wide applications or yung Sonrox natin or Clorox na tinatawag, carbon tetrachloride, chloroform, methylene chloride, and tetrachloroethylene are organic solvents, para dichlorobenzene in mothballs. So these chlorinated chemicals are carcinogens. They can cause cancer. Methylene chloride used in paint strippers and thinners causes nerve disorders. Next, another indoor air pollutant is asbestos. So asbestos is used as fire retardant in flooring, ceiling, and wall materials. It is no longer used prevalently, but may still be found in old houses or buildings. So harmful effect, it can cause asbestosis, a lung disease in which asbestos fibers become embedded in the lungs. So, how do we control air pollutants? The best way to reduce air pollution is to control emission from its source. So, you have a responsibility in keeping the air you breathe clean. To do your part, you must be aware where air pollutants come from and how this can be reduced. So, the following are some ways to reduce the accumulation of air pollutants in the environment. Number one, minimize the use of vehicles to reduce the burning of fossil fuels. So as much as possible, it's better to commute than to use your own vehicle. So mass transport system is one way of reducing vehicles on the road, like the light rail transit or the LRT or the metro rail transit, the MRT. Number two, observe proper vehicle maintenance and good driving habits. So if you see that your vehicle is already emitting dark smoke, so have it checked, have it maintained so that it will function properly. Three, report the emission of black smoke from factories and power plants to the authorities. Four, conduct greening projects. So there are plants that are effective absorbers of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide like ipil-ipil, yellowbell, chichirica, molave, San Francisco, bougainvillea, and others. So you can plant the mentioned plants in your home so that they could be absorbers of primary pollutants and secondary pollutants. Next, number five, consider the Philippine Clean Air Act of 1999 or the RA 8749, which emphasizes pollution management and prevention. So next, we have lesson 2, water pollutants. So when water becomes unfit for its intended use, it is considered polluted. Water pollution occurs when a body of water is adversely affected due to the addition of large amounts of waste matter known as pollutants. So here we have an example of a polluted body of water. It is now a concern of many nations. We cannot allow our waters to be polluted as it can affect the different hierarchies of living things on Earth. The effects can be magnified whether in plant or animal life. There are two types of water pollutants, namely point source and non-point source. Point sources of pollution occur when harmful substances are emitted directly into a body of water. The Exxon Valdez oil spill best illustrates point source water pollution. The Exxon Valdez oil spill occurred in Prince William Sound, Alaska, March 24, 1989, when Exxon Valdez, an oil tanker owned by Exxon Shipping Company bound for Long Beach, California, struck Prince William Sound's reef, 1.5 miles west of Tatitlek, Alaska, at 12:04 a.m. and spilled 10.8 million US gallons of crude oil over the next few days. A non-point source delivers pollutants indirectly through environmental changes. An example of this type of water pollution is when fertilizer from a field is carried into a stream by rain in the form of runoff, which in turn affects aquatic life. Aside from fertilizers, other materials that fall under this type are silt and other suspended solids such as soil, construction and logging sites such as this one in the picture, waste from urban areas, and eroded riverbanks when it rains. Pollution arising from non-point source accounts for a majority of the pollutants in rivers and lakes. So the following table shows the different examples of water pollutants, its description, sources, and harmful effects to human and environment. So the first one is sediment. So it is dust and land surface erosion, pavement and vehicle wear, tires, brakes, etc. Organic matter like leaf and food litter, grass and animal droppings, runoff water from car wash. So it affects people health such as it can cause waterborne diseases like cholera, dysentery, hepatitis, and many more. It also damages aquatic ecosystem. Another water pollutant is nutrients such as nitrates and phosphates. It comes from organic matter such as leaf and food litter, grass and animal droppings, fertilizers, sewer overflows and septic tank leaks, detergent, soap, and runoff water from car wash. Harmful effect, it can lead to a condition called eutrophication. So in eutrophication, there is excessive richness of nutrients in a lake or other body of water, frequently due to runoff from the land, which causes a dense growth of plant life and death of animal life from lack of oxygen. So, if there's eutrophication, it's an indication of water pollution. Next, oxygen-demanding substances such as oil. So the sources, decaying organic matter like plants and animals, sewer overflows, septic tank leaks, oil and gasoline spills. So if there is a oil in your body of water, it prevents the entry of oxygen as it coats the gills of a fish, such as in the picture, which could lead to suffocation. Next, pH or acidity. So sources, atmospheric gases, decaying matter. So if the water is acidic, it leads to massive fish kill due to high concentration of acidic substances. Next, toxic chemicals or persistent organic pollutants, POPs. So this comes from pesticides, herbicides, spillage and illegal discharges, sewer overflow, septic tank leaks. Harmful effect, toxic to genes, genotoxicity, induce cancer, carcinogenity, toxic to the nervous system, neurotoxicity. Next, we have heavy metals such as lead and mercury. Sources, the atmosphere, vehicle wear, sewer overflows, and septic tank leaks, damage on buildings and other structures. Harmful effect, it causes poisoning and massive fish killing. And they're distinct called biomagnification. So, if the organisms in the body of water absorb these heavy metals like lead and mercury, and then we humans eat these organisms that are found in the bodies of water such as the fish, we also absorb these heavy metals. Next, increase water temperature or thermal pollution. So sources, cooling systems of boilers in electric generating plants and manufacturing industries, lack of surrounding vegetation. So harmful effect, lacks oxygen and suffocates aquatic organisms. It can also cause massive fish kill. So, there are several ways by which we can minimize the level at which pollutants enter the rivers and lakes. Science also provides several ways of removing this and making the water fit for human consumption. So the following are some suggested ways in removing the air pollutants and improving the quality of bodies of water. So number one, people are advised to stop throwing garbage directly into bodies of water. 2. Act responsibly in disposing household chemicals. 3. Require industries, hospitals, and other establishments to put up wastewater treatment plants. So this is very important. Next, number 4, we have to save water because clean water is so scarce right now. Number 5, we have to reduce the use of inorganic fertilizers or those that come from uh, factories. So we must make use of organic fertilizers such as compost. Next, so let us now answer the different activities in What's More. Independent Activity 1, Word Hunt. So there are 10. Okay, there are 10 hidden words that can be positioned in all directions, written from left to right to left, horizontally, vertically, diagonally, but is always on one straight line. So the clue, the 10 words, the 10 hidden words are examples of air pollutants and water pollutants. Next, independent assessment 1, psi versus. State the difference between the given pair of concepts. So, i-differentiate nyo lang ang dalawang concepts sa bawat item. Example, number 1, water pollutant versus air pollutant. So, lagay nyo lang po dito sa box na to, ano ba ang water pollutant, ano ba ang air pollutant. Okay? So, 2, point source versus non-point source. 3, primary air pollutant versus secondary air pollutant. 4, mine spills versus oil spills. 5, acidic water versus basic water. So, air pollutant or water pollutant. So, identify the following pollutants. Write AP if it is an air pollutant and WP if it's a water pollutant. So, number 1, we have combustion product. 2, carbon monoxide. 3, total suspended particulates. 4, nitrates and phosphates. 5, environmental tobacco smoke. 6, lead and mercury. 7, oil. 8, asbestos. 9, sediment. And 10, persistent organic pollutants. Independent assessment 2. Let's try this and scrambled. So direction, arrange the jumbled letters to reveal the hidden word or phrase. So here are your jumbled letters. And then, in the second column, you have your clue. So, the clue will help you to identify what the hidden word or phrase is. So, you just read the clues very carefully so that you will be able to unscramble the jumbled letters. Next, let's match it, fit and right. Fit the right pollutant with the given source by matching column A with column B. So column A, you have volcanic emissions, large streets with many vehicles, dust from roads and croplands before planting and burning of farm waste. 4, paint products and leaded gasoline. 5, pesticides, herbicides, spillage, and illegal discharges. So your choices for column B are lead, oil, photochemical smog, sulfur dioxide, total suspended particulates, and toxic chemicals. Next, independent assessment 3. So it's your turn, word bank. Identify the harmful effects of the given pollutants to human health and environment. Choose your answer from the word bank below and write only the letter of the answer. So, the word bank has the following words: asbestos, dust mite, nitrate and phosphate, persistent organic pollutant, volatile organic compound. So, the statements, number 1, it causes headache, breathing problems, respiratory diseases, can be carcinogenic, fire hazards. 2, it causes asbestosis, a lung disease in which asbestos fibers become embedded in the lungs. 3, it triggers allergic reactions such as allergic rhinitis. 4, it causes excessive growth of algae or algal bloom. Next, number 5, causes the contamination of bodies of water through agricultural and surface runoff. Next, what I have learned. So, self-check. So, let us check your understanding on the topic that was discussed in this module. Using the given scale below, rate yourself based on what you have learned. Read each statement carefully and select your level of mastery in each topic. So, lalagyan nyo lang ng check to. So, put a check under number 5 if you have high mastery and check 1 if you have no mastery. So these are the concepts. Number 1, I can enumerate the different examples of air pollutants and water pollutants. 2, I can describe the pollutants in the environment. 3, I can cite the sources of the pollutants. 4, I can explain the harmful effects of pollutants to human health and environment. 5, I can give ways to reduce the accumulation of pollutants in the environment. So you are just going to check if you have high mastery, check 5. Kung no mastery, check 1. Next, what I can do. So campaign slogan. So create a campaign slogan that will promote reducing the accumulation of air pollutants and water pollutants in the environment. So use Oslo paper and any coloring materials for this activity. If you don't have Oslo paper, you may use typewriting or bond paper. So the rubric is provided below for your reference. So for you to be graded a perfect score, you need to have the following content. So the campaign slogan is well constructed and exceptionally informative. Creativity, the campaign slogan is exceptionally creative. Originality, exceptional use of new ideas and originality to create a campaign slogan. Next, assessment. Choose the letter of the best answer. Write your answer in your answer sheet. See pages 17 to 19 of Quarter 3, Module 1. So for your performance task 3.1, you are going to do additional activity. Let's mean it acronym. So direction, pollutants may be present in the air or water producing adverse effects to human health and environment. The substances given below are some examples of air and water pollutants. So ang gagawin nyo dito, you are going to give the chemical name or meaning of the following symbols or acronyms. So number 1, we have CO2, 2, SO2, number 3, H2SO4, 4, VOC, 5, POP, 6, TSP, 7, ETS, 8, O3, 9, N2O, and 10, NO2. So you're just going to write the meaning of the symbols of or acronyms here on the third column. So for those who will be using their laptops or desktop computers, so you may do your performance task 3.1 using Canva or other graphic design applications. So for ENVI Quarter 3 Module 1, Air Pollutants and Water Pollutants, these are the things that you need to have on your answer sheet. So what I know, what's more, sasagutan ng independent activities 1, 2, 3 at independent assessments 1, 2, 3. What I have learned, what I can do, assessment, and additional activity. So the additional activity is your performance task. So if you're done, upload your answers in your Google Drive folder, our path, Environmental Science, Quarter 3, Module 1. Next, so review Module 1 and 2 for summative test number 1. Answer the test via Google Forms and the link will be sent after Module 2 discussion. So thank you for attending our Environmental Science online class. God bless you all.